Good morning again for the last time this week. And I suppose the last time this month, really, although we tipped into August earlier this week. And we are slowly winding down to hopefully have. Well, so far, there's been no rain today, despite the fact that we've had. Where did that crop up from? We've had. Oh dear me! I haven't a clue where this is. Let me tell you what this is. Since it's appeared without asking, is this Horatio Bottomley, who lived no more than a stone's throw from Lewes. He was an orphan who made good. He became a publisher of two particularly prominent newspapers. One was John Bull, and the other was the Financial Times, which still exists, of course, and for which our correspondent Stuart Dolby once worked. Horatio Bottomley was a great patriot and a flag waver to recruit people for the First World War. He lived a very fine lifestyle in Upper Dicker, a village not very far from Lewes, in a beautiful mansion. And he was a great entertainer, bon vivant, and high life liver. The thing is that he was doing it all on ill-gotten gains. He basically ran. Well, there are two schemes that he ran. One was investment in gold mines in Australia, which were no more than holes in the ground. That is an old dodge, actually. There's nothing new in that, but he managed to get away with it to the point where it made him very, very wealthy. The other thing was that he ran the bonds and competitions and so on, his newspapers, and made sure that his employees were the winners so that the money went back into the coffers. In other words, a swindle. He was a member of Parliament. He was banned from being a member of Parliament. And eventually he was found out totally and went to prison for 7 years for swindling, for fraud. When he came out, he tried to recoup his former glory as a very wealthy man and an entrepreneur, but never could make it, and died in relative poverty sometime around 1920. So that's who that was, and that's a little clip from a program that we're doing on Horatio Bottomley, and which escaped and showed up. So I apologise for that. It gave me an opportunity to talk about Horatio Bottomley, who, in his own way, was quite an interesting personality. Even if he was a crook and a fraud, and I'm happy to say he didn't get away with any of my money, so I can afford to speak to him about it in relative terms. Okay, normally at this time we would welcome Melissa Conti from New York, but Melissa has embarked for these shores, and I've lost track of her diary because she's due here, and I'm not sure when. And then she's going on to Naples, and I think from Naples back here, and intends at some stage to come to Lewes. But I haven't been able to talk to her to find out. So I sat more in wonder and awe that she might turn up this morning. But we've had an interesting program anyway. Stuart Dolby was here to confirm some of the things that we've been reading about fossil fuels, about the cost of living, about the energy cap, and so on. We have also had the two bees, and they, as usual, the value for money. And indeed, we're talking this morning about divorce, and they came to the conclusion that they would it'd be better off not to divorce and to put up with it, because the consequences of divorce can be so fierce and debilitating. I just would like to speak to about John Henty, who on Wednesday was here, and John, in his usual way, surprised us all because he actually decided to talk about silence. Now that's not so daft as it sounds, because scientists are worried that noise pollution is becoming more dangerous than air pollution, and that we should do something about it. But there is a little reluctance on the part of society, authority, to back the serious money that was needed for sound pollution. My colleague Mike Payne, who a very noted journalist, has fronted a fundraising effort to try and build a theme park in which there would be a number of chambers that you could go into when the sound would be the way it was in prehistoric times, down through increasing noise as the world developed into a mature society, to the point where you are hit with the last chamber with the noise of Piccadilly Circus and the buses rumbling by and the horns beeping and so on and so forth. It's sad that the plans for this were well developed. And in fact, the funds are promised to build this on the proviso that some council in Britain would host this theme park, the provision of land, and would share in the largesse that it would provide. And that way, that would spring the funds. So far, the promoters have been unable to find anywhere in Britain a council that doesn't look for something in itself. Nobody is prepared to do this in a pure sense. In some instances, it's a pure bribe. In others, it was a question of can we have a piece of the action of this project? But nobody was willing to provide support on the basis that it's just a jolly good idea, and it is incumbent upon us to support these sort of things. So the project is still waiting to go ahead. But anyway, John Henty gave us a touch of silence. And he said, Keith, I think when people watch this on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and so on, is they should be alerted that that I actually indulge in a little silence. Because he said what happens is that sometimes computers shut things down if there's too much silence. And also, people think that there's something wrong either with the presenter or with the gubbins of the television station if there's no sound. So do be aware, if you're watching our program, Plenty of Henty, that you are prepared for the fact that he goes quiet all of a sudden, and that there's nothing wrong. He's not dying of a heart attack, and the world isn't facing a new tsunami. It is to demonstrate what it is that he's trying to show in terms of noise pollution and the perhaps some mild answers to it. So that's just an alert from John Henty, and the reason that you get a lack of sound for a little while on your screen is simply because it's artificial. it's John being quiet. Mind you, that in itself is quite something. But those are two things that have happened this week, which you need to be aware of if you're going to go and tune in to Mirador Television. And Suddenly my voice is gone. Never mind. I'll try and fight it through. How silly. But we've also had other top-notch people. We had a professor of the best development suggestion is of crop development, making sure that we get the very best out of seeds and experimenting to see how we can make them better. A controversial topic, perhaps, but it is in moderation, like anything else. Well worthwhile to see how we can improve what nature is giving us. So that's where it's at. But the main headline this morning was that Rishi Sunak is his house in Yorkshire was taken over by eco warriors, and who occupied it for some 2 to 3 hours, passing on the message that we're all going to hell. And as we followed, our colleagues, John Henty, myself, Suzanne Mouchot, Vanessa Conti, and one or two others to try and demonstrate to you some of the things which are ignored, a la noise pollution, and we should really become more aware of that. So that's what we've really been up to. As we don't have a Melissa this morning, I am going to look to see if we've got just a shorty. I have a Leslie's People here, and I think that might be a suitable one to end the week on. So let's do that.
Hello, welcome to Lewis.
Behind me you can see the cancer research shop windows, but they are unusually empty. Any other year you would be seeing Leslie Hills painting right here. She is painting the people of Lewis. They are many recognizable faces. Today we're speaking to one of these people behind the paintings.
My name is Tony Kalume, but most people call me Anthony Kalume. That's what my mom used to call me. So I am actually one of the few people from Lewis who have been working with the police around hate crime. So we've been, when I say we, it's Diversity Lewis is a group that was formed 10 years ago. And we were actually concerned about the level of racism within the town. So we managed to get a few people who were really up for a challenge. So we started this group knowing that it's not going to be easy. And most people were saying Lewis is not a racist town. And some people are saying, oh yes, Lewis is a racist town. So we had polarity. So we managed to get people to come over and have a meeting at the Pelham House. And we called it Have Your Say. So we got people together and we managed to get an Eventbrite event where you had to get your emails. So from that emails, we got a mailing list. So from that mailing list, we had a meeting where everybody brainstormed and said, oh, we need more talks about cultural things. Some people say, oh, we just need somewhere to have fun, venue to have music, food, fashion. So what happened is we had different ideas. People came with, let's celebrate Black History Month. So we managed to have international soup festival where everybody came with soup from all over the world. So we had soup from Czech Republic, we had soup from Iran, we had soup from Thailand, we had soup from Kenya, we had soup from England, So we got everybody together, and some of the restaurants, the Indian restaurant, they offered. They said, oh, we'll give you some soup for free. So we had quite a lot of soup, so we called it the International Soup Festival. And it ran for 4 years, at the All Saints Center. And everybody came there, because there was no class, there was no age, it was multi-generational, and it worked quite well because we had shots. So people used to have shots of soup and go to the next stall, have a shot of soup. If they like it, then they sit down and then they buy a bowl, for $5 or something, So it was so well organized and it was so appreciated that it became claustrophobic. The place became too small for so we had to stop, 2 years ago. We stopped doing the soup festival, but it was quite a good way to bring cohesion within. So we've been doing events like in the restaurants, people want some music. So we've been doing that, and then Leslie knows what I do because I did a vigil for George Floyd in June when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, and it was just for members of Diversity Lewis. So I thought maybe 30 people will come. You put an event on Facebook and yeah, I'm going. It was like, oh, only 12 people said they're going, so it's okay. So I went there, got the photograph of George Floyd. I just magnified it big. So I was walking down the street with it, and then suddenly I see all these people, because I told everybody to dress in black. I was looking everywhere. Wow. I look, there are so many people, and there are like more than 5,000 people turned up, And I was like, what? So what we did, I had anticipated something like that, but I didn't expect so many. So I had stewards. Some of the members were high vis and started giving them physical distance. So it went all the way up to the court. The court, and then some of it spilled down to the Sessions in Louis. So it was such an occasion, And then what we did, we had 8 minutes of silence, and 48 seconds, just because that's how long that somebody stayed on somebody's knee and died. So we did that for 8 minutes, which was quite a long time, but it was quite short. When you saw all the people there, and then there was somebody with a drone who took aerial shots, and I'm so sad nobody took a video of it, but still you can see the physical distance of the crowd. So yeah, we've been doing events like that. We've been working with the police around hate crime. We've been working with the schools, going to assemblies and speaking about your identity and where you come from, just to get people to know that we are all the same. Racism is something that you learn and you can unlearn. So, and I've been working also with universities, doing, work with the Heritage Lottery Fund. We got some funding from the Heritage Lottery Fund. So we've been working with the museums Royal Pavilion Museums, and we did an exhibition called Fashion Cities Africa, which brought designers from North Africa, which is Casablanca, and then South Africa, Johannesburg. Then we got people from the West, Lagos, and then from the East, Nairobi. And we brought all their fashion to Brighton Museum. And people came even from America just to see it, because it has never been done like that before. You know, everybody thinks, oh, people dress in Africa in skins, or they dress in, you know. So when they saw contemporary, you know, artists who even Beyonce and all these Rihanna actually wear their you know, designs, it was amazing, you know. So it was contemporary African city fashion, you know. So it was a different look at people, and seeing that our main aim is to celebrate our differences. That's what we do. I think that's what Leslie liked about it.
When
Yeah.
did Leslie paint you?
Actually, we met in December last year, and she said, there's a competition in January. I want to enter, and I need you to I need to take your portrait of you. So I said, okay, fine. So I sent her some pictures. She said, no. I don't want it like that. You know, I want it like this. I said, okay, then take a picture then. So she took a picture of the way she wanted, because I'd given her a full. I said, no, I just want your face, but looking that side. So she came and took a picture of me, and that was in December. And then she said the competition is in January. So I don't know if she submitted it or not, because I haven't seen her for quite a while because of the pandemic.
Right. There we go. And that is all in aid of Action Cancer. Leslie Hills, a very well-known local artist. She actually painted me, believe it or not. And I beam proudly from the. I've got my copy at home, but I beam proudly from the window from time to time of the Action Cancer shop at the base of School Hill, along with many others. And you can have, I think she's still doing it, even though she's well into her 80s. She's been ill, but she's still actually painting, and you can have your portrait done from a photograph if you wish. So go in and see them at the shop, and book them if necessary. It's 10:53. It's almost time for us to say goodbye for the week. But I just want to go back to this business of the whatever this group call themselves, the spin-off from Greenpeace, Just Stop Oil. Is disruption is one thing, and it is naughty, and it's something that shouldn't be done. But the most important thing is that they are not observing rule of law, and if you don't observe rule of law, the society descends into chaos, and that is, to say the least, dangerous to our society and dangerous to what we understand to be freedom in the western part of the world. And if I may say so, I know, because I've worked with people on rule of law in places where rule of law wasn't properly understood. I worked in the Balkans. I worked in all but one Balkan country. And believe me, rule of law, even where it was understood amongst activists, even where it was understood amongst journalists, is quite often was not understood, or at least not practiced, amongst the political classes, all of whom were very anxious to grasp power. And that's the sort of thing that happens when you don't have rule of law. I've worked in Africa, where in parts it is very similar. I worked in the Middle East, where in many ways can be very similar. I've worked in far Eastern Europe, and in many ways it can be very similar. Believe me, if that way of life, if that way of condoning the breaking of rule of law or the not observance of it, then we are in serious, serious trouble. And I would urge all of us to support any condemnation of these people. When they break the bounds of civilization, it is time to say enough. Enough is enough. No matter, you may be sympathetic to people who march, you may be sympathetic to the things they march for, but you cannot support the breaking of rule of law, because that means that we become nothing more than savages. And if you want to contribute to us turning into a race of savages, by all means, go ahead. Remember the day you did it. Have some misguided principle, perhaps by clinging to that middle class concept that everybody is decent, aren't they? Don't support the breaking and the sabotaging of rule of law. That strikes at the very foundation of our society, of our country, of our nation, of our beliefs. I urge you, even if it seems right-wing, heavy-handed, to deal fiercely and to stop these people doing what they're doing, go along with it. Because what they're doing is far worse. And there has to be a check and a balance. There has to be. I can hear a hum from the other cocktail bar, which means that somebody somewhere is pouring drinks. And I think it's time, after a fraught week, a week in which we got through, but not without some effort and watching how we handled our technology, which is our weak spot. A drink would be very, very pleasant to end our set of programs on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the other bar. I'm going to have a drink. Until Monday morning at 8:30, let me say to you, toodle, 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 pip.